didn't realize I had anxiety. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you are here. And today we're going to be talking about something that I realized recently that I thought of as a strength, and you probably think as a strength as well, right? How many of you are like, I am a multitasker and you're proud of it? That is me. I'm always going, and I pride myself on being able to do multiple things at once, right? So recently I am having a therapy appointment with my new therapist, and I said, I'm gonna go for a walk while we have our session. And I said, you've noticed by now that I'm a multitasker. And he said, ever so sweetly, oh yeah, that's anxiety. And I was like, huh? What do you mean? And he was like, yeah, that's anxiety. And then he started listing a few things. Obviously, because of me, I didn't believe him. Today, we're going to unpack how the Lord made that revelation so clear to me and how my mind was blown. And I'm praying that while we are making today some delicious buffalo chicken quesadillas, that we can talk about some of the things that we have been dealing with in flight or fight mode that we don't recognize, that have been so normalized that we think it's okay when really we're struggling. So I am so glad that you are here. And as we're making these quesadillas for the first time, I asked my daughter what she wants to eat, and this was her recommendation because my kids don't want to eat the same thing all over again, even though it's technically the same thing. So we're gonna do this while we talk about how my mind was blown recently. So like I said earlier, and this is just some Montreal chicken seasoning, some garlic, onion powder, some salt, some paprika, you know, the staples for chicken. Anyway, so recently I am talking to my therapist. Pause for me. So recently, I was talking to my therapist, and the last couple of sessions that we did, it was nice out, so I scheduled my walk during the time of my therapy session. So on maybe like our third session, I'm just gonna put this on the stove. I'm gonna cook our chicken while we continue having our conversation, right? I'm just gonna put it on medium heat. So recently, I'm having a conversation with my therapist, and I'm like, oh, I think by now, because this is a new relationship, I'm like, I think by now you realize I'm a multitasker. And like I said earlier, he's like, that's anxiety. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, do you struggle to fall asleep at night? And I'm like, no, not really. And he's like, yeah, that's probably because you're exhausted. And so when I started therapy, I had prayed and I said, Lord, I realized all my life I've been in flight or fight mode, right? I've been on survival, and I really want to be intentional about entering your place of rest for my life, right? So now I have this conversation with my therapist, and I'm like, I've never considered myself anxious. But because I'm on this journey and I want to be better, I said, Lord, show me, like make it make sense for me. Because if you're like me, if it doesn't make sense for me, I'm not gonna do anything about it. Like if I think you're lying, if I think you don't have the clear picture, why would I move my life to accommodate that, right? So I thought my therapist was crazy. But again, I prayed, and the Lord, in the most amazing way, showed me that what he indeed was saying was true. All right, so our chicken is ready. I'm just gonna shred it. I thought about getting a shredder, but I nixed that idea. But anyway, so Mother's Day weekend, I usually get away just to breathe, right? Just to have some me time. So I am at the hotel, and the only thing I have on my agenda that day is getting my nails done and going to the movies. I wake up early in the morning like I normally do because I can't sleep long. And I am going mentally through what it is I need to do for that day. And again, I just have to do my nails and go to the movies. I find myself rushing because somehow, somewhere, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't make an appointment because again, I didn't want to be rushed. I didn't make an appointment. I didn't buy tickets. I just kind of wanted to flow with the day. Here comes, anxiety. I have to get there now. I need to skip breakfast so that I can make it to the nail shop at this specific time. Because my thought process had been, it's Mother's Day weekend. There's a lot of moms that are probably going to go get their nails done. And I didn't make an appointment. So I should go before it gets crazy, right? But then I find myself skipping breakfast, not taking a moment to settle, not doing normal things. And in my normal day, when I'm trying to get the kids out of the house and I'm, cleaning the house and I'm making lunch and I have deadlines, I have things that actually need to be done by a certain time, it's easy to justify it. But on a Saturday morning, when I have nothing but me on the schedule, why am I skipping breakfast? Why? And I was like, mind blown in that moment. I'm like, oh my goodness, my therapist this is crazy. I would have never thought, really, honestly, that I'm somebody that has anxiety. So what I did that day is I came back upstairs after I had gone downstairs from my room. I came back upstairs, I sat down, I breathed, I ate, and then I went to get my nails done, right? So as I'm getting my nails done, I'm, when you're blown away with something, you kind of fixate on it. So I'm like, okay, God, explain this more for me. And then I marveled, honestly, at how awesome God is. Because I had prayed and I said, Lord, I feel like I've been in flight or fight mode for way too long, like a lot of my life. And I don't want to be in that anymore. And in that moment, I just felt so good that He heard. And again, it's not that I know God hears me. He hears us when we pray. But I know that when you get that confirmation that He's paying attention and He's really working it out, like it's a feeling that you cannot explain. So I'm like, okay, God, like help me to now that I know this. Thank you first of all, thank you for revealing that to me. Thank you for listening to my prayer, and thank you for answering my prayer. Now that I know, okay, this is another step out of fight or flight, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, God, how do I do this moving forward? So how do I make sure that in my daily life, I'm not moving from a place of anxiety, but I'm actually being intentional about moving in a place of rest. So we're just done with our chicken now. We're just gonna mix everything up. So for you, right, what area of your life do you think you're operating at your best, right? That you think is a strength? And it's funny because I was thinking about it. On my resume, I have multitasker, right? This is a point of pride. Like this is something that we think we do well, but at the root of it is anxiety, right? What are you doing in your daily life that you think is a strength that's actually, let me see if I can say this right, that you think is a strength, but that's actually a weakness disguised as a strength, right? And again, it's still good because even when I had a follow-up appointment with my therapist and I was like, oh my goodness, you were so right. And we laughed about it. And he said, I wouldn't necessarily take that off your resume. And it's not that it's not a strength because not everybody can focus on two things at once. However, when we know what the root cause of a thing is, we can take action. So today I want to encourage you to actually evaluate. And don't evaluate by yourself, because if you're evaluating by yourself, initially, if I didn't go to God, I would have never taken action. I would have been like, this guy is crazy. And especially since I was kind of just, getting to know him, with just building this relationship, this may have been a reason for me to be like, I'm not seeing him again because he's nuts. Awesome. So now that everything is ready, we're going to assemble our quesadillas, right? Just a little bit of butter, let that melt. All right, so again, I am trying this for the first time. We'll see how this turns out. My children do not like to eat the same thing twice, which they kind of get from me, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we're gonna try that. So put this down like this. And let that cheese melt and get nice and crusty, right? But while we're doing that, a couple of things while we're waiting for that to happen. As you're evaluating, because you have to evaluate. I'm in my 40s where it's like, I feel like it's do or die. You get so much wisdom, so much revelation, and finally you feel like you're at a place where you're empowered Okay, you're no longer in your mom's shadow or anybody else's shadow. You're becoming your own person. And we have work to do here. So as you're evaluating, here's a couple things to consider. And evaluate with the Lord, obviously, because if you're doing it alone, you may miss it. Where have you normalized anxiety? Or where have you normalized trauma? Because you've been doing it for so long that you don't realize it's, I don't want to say wrong, but for lack of a better word, wrong, right? That there's better. What does God's rest look like? And are you modeling that in your daily life? In your daily life? And then what does healing look like right now for you? And what steps are you going to take to heal? After my revelation, now let me just add the chicken. After my revelation, right? That was probably a little too much, but after my revelation, right? I have decided that I'm not going to rush through breakfast. That's my first commitment that I've made. I'm not rushing through breakfast. I'm going to actually sit down and have a meal. Actually, not even breakfast, all my meals. Because usually I'm eating as I'm running to or from somewhere. To the point where even last year, the Lord had told me, girl, sit down. Like, have a seat. Right? So I'm not rushing through my meals. Let's move on. Oh, look at that. So pretty. Okay, so I'm not rushing through my meals, right? I'll give you an example. Yesterday morning, I had so many things to do. And I gave myself this deadline of everything has to be done by a certain time, by 9 a.m. Because now I'm aware, I stopped and I thought and I said, why are you, because let me backtrack just a little bit. Because when I have so much to do, then I get overwhelmed. And sometimes when I get overwhelmed, what needs to get done doesn't get done, right? Hopefully that's making sense to you. So I found out that because I can be anxious and operate from that place, I'm making myself overwhelmed for no reason. So yes, I had a lot of stuff to do yesterday, but did everything really need to get done by 9 o'clock in the morning? Like, seriously? No, it didn't. And that was the impossible standard that I was putting on myself. I need and want to get all this done by 9. Why? I had all day. So I stopped. I recalibrated my day. I rearranged certain things. I still got everything done, but without the pressure. All right, so it's done. How do you think I did? I'll let you know what my kids think. But as we wrap up, I just want to remind you, right? Knowledge is power. You know, the Bible literally says, my people perish from lack of knowledge. Where in your life do you think that you're thriving, but really you're barely surviving, right? Because if you don't recognize that you're barely surviving, you don't ever have a reason to take action. What I really pray that this episode does for you is for you to have your own aha moment, like I did in that hotel room. First of all, I had my own shock with the therapist, but the aha moment of realization, like, oh my God, this is true. I'm operating from a place of anxiety. And because I want God's best for my life, what can I do continually to make sure that I am mirroring that rest of God that I desire so much? I really pray that this blesses you just as these are about to bless us in this house. I'll see you next time. If this message resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. And of course, I would love to hear from you, your own aha moments. See you next time.